In last episode, we started emptying this big circle, but we still have this square in the middle that needs to go away. And this is a perfectly outlined monument, so it's time to collect a bunch of these ocean monument blocks. Howdy everyone, this is Moppa, this is the Asgaard SMP Season 2, and welcome back to episode number 17. We have a whole lot of work to do in today's episode, and I'm so excited to get started here. If we come on over here to these chests, I have some supplies ready to go. Don't go into the nether though. Up here we have a whole bunch of chests. We also have a ton of sand. We're going to need that to clear out the remaining water, and a ton of stained glass because these side walls need to go down a little bit further. If I go into free cam here and come on in, we'll see that we have a lot of hills here. This is not going to stay this way. We are going to level this down, especially over here. This is pretty high. We're going to have to dig that out and then fill in the glass the rest of the way. Dig out a little bit on the back as well, so it actually looks like a big old fish tank in the middle of the ocean here. But these chests are going to come in handy for digging all that stuff out, because there's going to be a lot of good stuff in there. There's going to be a lot of like the andesite and diorite, which I have plans for in the future, so I want to save those up right now, as well as a ton of sand. And it seems like I never stop using glass, so I of course want to save that all as well. So I've got a stack of chests here. We're going to line these up on in here and just start filling these up as we start to dig away at this thing, and also away at the monument in the middle, because we're also going to want to save all of those fun blue blocks, because I'm going to want to be using those as well. Isn't that just the best sight ever? If we come on over here, I love to see the drained monument. Now of course we are still going to tear this thing down, but I did just want to capture it while it is still fully exposed. I've gotten some of the water out of the top, but there's still quite a bit in here, and the conduit's floating around. I don't actually know how to reclaim this. Can I just... Do you do that? Okay. Well, not only had I never placed one before this, I'd also never taken one back. So that's good to know, at least, that I can do that. We are going to drain it, but I think the best way to do that is probably just to start tearing it down from the top. And as soon as I come into water, just placing some sponges and fighting off any guardians that appear. This job will be a lot easier with a beacon though, so we're going to pop on over to the iron farm. And if we come on up this way here, we have so much iron, I'm pretty sure this is filled. Yep, we can see it there. It's overflowing up there. So these should all be double chests filled with iron blocks all the way up to... Yep, there's the top one. That's a lot of iron. I wonder how many bone blocks we have. So many, so many. Okay, well, it doesn't really matter then if I take a bunch of these, but we really only need 2 stacks plus 36. There we go. And we are, of course, going to need 1 ingot as well. So let's take that, and we can just toss those. And we, of course, need to grab the actual beacon. Okay, we at least have some nether stars, so that's a good start. Obsidian, a little bit of glass, and there we go. All right, let's go ahead and give ourselves haste 2 here, and let that kick in, and let's see. Is that faster? That's super fast. There we go. That is going to be so much better. Oh, careful not to just dump water everywhere. This is going to be quite the mess. The ocean monument is gone, and I've dropped down the beacon in its place. This is the level that the bottom of the ocean monument was on before. We started bringing everything else down to that level. That's not going to be the bottom level, though. I still have a lot of digging to go. I'm not quite sure how far I want to go down, but I do need to go a little bit further than this. I think I'm just going to keep digging and just kind of eyeball to see when I feel like it should be done. But oh boy, is this really, really satisfying. And there we go, we are all dug out now. I actually had to add a couple extra beacons just to make sure that we had the whole place covered. And I was even going to go deeper than this, but this already took so long that for how far I actually wanted to go down, it just would have been an insane amount of time. I was thinking like another 16 layers, and that would have been absolutely crazy. This was already long enough. I haven't edited that time lapse yet, but that is going to be quite the amount of footage to be compressing into a short amount of time. But I had originally set the scaffolding to be all the way down to where I wanted to go. And yeah, this goes pretty far down. And especially once I hit deep slate, that would have taken absolutely ages. So I'm really glad that I did decide to cut it off right here. I'm not unhappy with how deep this is. I think this will be a really good spot to start. But we're not quite done with all of the walls yet. Obviously, you can see that there are still a lot of the ground blocks mixed in here, and I want to bring the glass down and then cut away behind it so that we have just water showing on the outsides, but I want to modify the shape of the wall a little bit as well. You see we've got this additional circle going on here, and if I come up here, we have a ton of resources here, by the way. We do have to go through and actually sort all of these at some point. I'm just going to stick those in there. That's a lot of chests. That's a lot of chests, and they are almost all full. But yeah, if we come on up here, you'll see that we have another circle that is intersecting this one, and we are going to do a few more of those around here. So we've got this one right here. That's going to go all the way down. We're going to do one on that wall, and that wall, and that wall, and then we'll probably mix in something on the corners as well. So this won't just be a straight circle going all the way down. So I do want to also make sure that I get these things set into place here. That's going to have to move though. I'm probably going to have to do that right now because as this is coming down, that is going to get in the way. And with a crazy amount of sorting here, this is a pretty cool view. This long line here is all stone. It's like the first two going all the way back. Yeah, that's a lot of chests of just stone. I'm totally hoarding this stuff. I have no use for it, but yet I just don't want to get rid of it. I'm just curious how much I can dig up. But anyway, we gave ourselves just enough room to not hit this thing. This looks pretty cool. I'm very happy with how this looks so far. Of course, there's still so much to do, but this is what the 4 cylinders are looking like. I think I'm going to make another change to the structure though. I've already had to go get more glass, but if we come into FreeCam here and take a look at this, I'm super happy with how that looks. And we're in a cloud. Yeah, I'm super happy with how this looks, and this is going to be super cool. But what I want to do next is right where I'm standing, I think, we have this almost kind of square pattern. I think it's right here. So we have these two jutting out, and then we have this diagonal right into these two jutting in the perpendicular direction. So I think if I bring that out and over and then into this one, and then we just kind of square it off on the inside, we can get 4 squares in the corners, and then we can add some additional beacons and offset those in order to make sure this whole thing is still covered, but looking a whole lot cooler and not having to have the 4 beams come out of the middle. I think it'll look a lot cooler. Maybe we'll still add a couple in the middle depending on exactly what the inside of this thing ends up looking like, but at least for now, I think having them on the outside is going to be a really good starting spot. I just slept away the night, so there are a lot of mobs still down there, but take a look at this. We got all of the beacons in now, and I added some color to it as well. We're going to go into free cam mode here and see that we have alternating orange and blue. On top here, so much gold, so many beacons. They're not even all active. They're really just for decoration, but take a look at that. We got all of the beams there, and actually if I enable mini HUD, you'll see that there is a small area where it's not actually active. I'm not sure why this extra wall is here, but there's probably no beacon effect in the middle. I don't think it reaches that far, but it covers most of it, which is totally fine. We definitely don't need it to cover the entire thing. Let's go ahead and turn that off though and get back into our body here. Come on down here because we now have a concentric circle. We have another one on in the middle here, and that is going to be so that we can have kind of like a walkway around the outside, and then we're going to do some fun little art stuff on in the middle. But now that this is all done here, we got to start working out what that's actually going to look like. I want to cover this outside in deep slate tiles. I think that's going to be nice and dark, not quite black, but it's going to be a very dark gray to add some really nice contrast. and then we can kind of figure out how exactly we want to blend that in here. I don't know what I want to do around the base because it's going to be probably half slabs in order to prevent spawning, unless I want to work in lights in some way, which I might do. I haven't ruled that out yet. I'm not entirely sure, but we do have to blend the floor into the walls somehow, so maybe through like prismarine or dark prismarine or something that's kind of in the middle of that really dark gray and the nice cyan blue on the walls. Alright, so I have the floor mostly figured out now, but in order to really sell this, we are going to need about 5 stacks of leaves, so we're heading off to the jungle here. Let's go ahead and grab those up and finish off this floor. Behold, yet another circle. I just can't get away from these things, but take a look. We got the lights done. We put some glowstone in there. I considered putting some carpet over there so that it would be colored, but I honestly really like the gold, especially from up here. I think it looks really good. If we get closer though, you'll see that we can make out that like cobbly texture of the glowstone. I'm not sure I love that, but you know, from far away it looks cool, and I think that's really what I care about the most here. I think the big part of my brain is going that, you know, this block has been in the game for a very long time, so it just feels like using it is kind of outdated, and adding some color would maybe be a little bit better, but I'm not going to spend much more time on it. Like I said, I'm very happy with it, especially from far away. I really like how it looks. Let's get high enough up here so that you can see that we've got some like waves going on and some circles mixed in there. Of course, some more circles, again, cannot get away from them. And then we just outlined it here with the prismarine brick, and if we get down here, you can see that there's also an arc to those, so I kind of got like a circular-ish shape going with those, and the diorite walls on top. I was thinking maybe I would do something a little bit more on top of those, maybe like soul lanterns or the end rods for some extra light. I'm not quite sure about that yet though, but I do need to build a railing here. We have the leaves all down here. This is what I was just off in the jungle collecting, and it was just a little over 5 stacks that I did end up needing for that, but I think we should probably add like some glass panes or something right here. I was thinking maybe fences, but I don't think any color of that would fit in. Maybe the pale oak would be the only one that I could try, but I have no idea where one of those is, so possibly some white or maybe even cyan panes, but I think some contrast against the back wall would be better, so white's probably going to be my go-to, but I'm not quite focused on that yet because, like I said, we have another circle here. We have a second walkway around here just using the prismarine cobblestone, and on the inside is where we are going to start to get pretty creative here. I'm going to have to do a little bit of art. Not always super good at that, but if we come on up here, you'll see that we have a pretty big area here. I believe the circle is 42. If I go to mods, mini HUD, and take a look at the shapes, I think it's this one. Radius is 42. You can see that there. So we have a circle with a radius of 42 to do some artwork in. We're going to need to hop over to a test world in order to actually accomplish this though, because there's no way I'm going to be able to pull this off live in survival. Okay, so over here in a test world now, we have recreated the same inner circle with the same dimensions and everything, and then I drew this center line right through the middle and then marked off the center of that, so that is the very center of this whole circle. And that's going to be really important because what we're building here is going to be symmetric, and I have given us a few blocks of padding here because we don't want to go right up to the edge. I do want a little bit of a border, and that is just 4 blocks off the side here, so then this white line that's left over is the size of the art that we're going to be drawing. And then for the center of each side here, that is a hole punched out, and if we go ahead and drop in there so that we can replace the blocks at this level, and I do / sill. Let's do probably cyan wool, and we'll make that a radius of 18 now. That should take us right to the center, which is beautiful, and we should still have our 4 blocks of padding on this side. Kind of looks like a giant lollipop, but let's go ahead and do it on the other side as well. And we did the second one out of yellow just so that we can tell these two apart here. These might not be the final colors, but we'll see. We're probably going to replace them with other blocks altogether instead of using wool, but if we go ahead and stand in the center here, we're going to need yet another concentric circle. So this is a radius of 42. We had 4 blocks of padding, and if I want this to go around the outside, we probably have to do a cylinder with a radius of 38. Let's just use white wool for this at the moment. That's not how you spell wool. There we go. We said 38, and we're going to make this hollow. And how does that look? All right, so right across the top, and 1, 2, 3 on the 4th. I think that should be enough for us to sort of get our bearings here. And is using that as a guide to kind of let our circle bleed off around the edge here and not eclipse outside of that circle. It's probably pretty obvious what's going on here now in the shape that I'm going for. And if it's not, let's go ahead and replicate the yellow through this side, and then you'll really see it start to take shape. And there we go. We now have a Yin Yang symbol. And I chose these colors, the cyan and the yellow, very carefully because it represents the Elder Guardian in the yellow and the regular Guardian in the cyan here. And we're not going to stop there because the Yin Yang typically also has eyes associated with it, or at least some kind of circle there. Maybe it's not necessarily an eye, but we can make that look just like the Guardian eye. We might be able to add some of the prongs too and really make these things just kind of look like the Guardian and Elder Guardian are morphed into this symbol. I think I might have accidentally just created Yin Yang plankton. And so I think this is a good start. We do have a little bit of overlapping right here, but don't forget that this is going to have a Guardian farm on top of it, and I'm going to try to make the center drop for all of the Guardians to get killed right here in the center, and that's going to kind of break that up anyway, so they're not actually going to be colliding like that. But obviously we're not just going to leave it like this. I don't want to use a bunch of wool. Let's find some better blocks that are going to be suited to this, preferably bottom half slabs, so that I don't have to have a ton of lights all around here, and we can really just appreciate this for what it is, or at least what it will be once I add maybe a few more details. And doesn't that just look a whole lot better with all of the bottom half slabs in there and some additional texture added in? I like this a lot better than just the flat colors, but we are using some of the resin blocks here and the pale oak, which means that we're going to have to go find a pale garden. Wish me luck on that one, because this world's been around for a while and I'm probably going to have to go pretty far in order to actually land in one. Landing successful. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this at night or not. Do these things go away during the day? I don't really know. Where was that going? I need to find... Oh, hello. I need to find... There's another one. Wherever that was going to. So if I whack... Ow! Whack. This is going to be a problem. This is absolutely going to be a problem, especially if they can keep catching up to me. Can I do this during the day? I don't know if I can do this during the day. Let me at least get somewhere safe. Can they actually leave the biome? This is a good test. I've never actually seen these things before. I don't think they can they? Are they bound? Okay, I got enough logs in order to get the planks. I do still need the resin though, and in case y'all were wondering, yeah, these things go away during the day. Time to wait again. Alright, final bits acquired. 1 stack plus 8 should be all I need. Oh, come on, let me through the portal. Oh, that's going to be on the other side. Oh boy, here we go. Run away! And as the sun is setting on our day today, so is it on this video as we now have the build in place. This thing is super cool. I'm really glad with how this came together. Let's go ahead on down here because we did bring this all over and it's now all bottom slabbed across, which means no more mob spawning. We did have to do just a little bit extra in here. We did come around the outside and add some of the sea lanterns in here to make sure that this area was also non-spawnable, and then just to make it a nice little lip, we did bump up this outside so that there is this nice kind of border around here, and it wasn't this weird drop off. But this looks really cool, right? I got the glass panes in there, and I do believe the white was a good choice here. I think that looks a lot better in front of the cyan than more cyan would have. But yeah, take a look at that. In next episode, we can finally build a farm on top of this, and we're still going to decorate these walls. These things are not staying this plain, but the bottom here, I am so happy with this. Let's come on up. Let's use free cam and take a look from really far away. I'm so happy with that. Look how small my body is down there. But as we get higher and higher, you can really see, and finally find a spot where there's not cloud coverage, you can really see that the shape is coming together here. I love the waves. I love the circles. Everything about it just makes me so happy. There's a lot of circles here. Clearly I like it, but I'm, like I said, really happy with it, and I cannot wait to see how this thing all wraps up. Let's jump all the way down into my body, back in the center. If you did enjoy, go ahead and subscribe for more. You can also follow me on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram as well if you'd like to keep up with me there. But anyway, hopefully you all have enjoyed, and I'll see y'all next time.